Sure. We just love this place. It's a wonderful Sunday to come out, and hope everybody online could join us and come in someday, and hope to see y'all soon. But for those that are here, we're going to start it off with "This Is the Day." So if you would like to, please rise and join us in this song, and we can go from there. Do I need a little?
Yeah. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is a day to be seized, a day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
All right, good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. If you guys don't remember, I am the assistant minister. Yeah, so I've been gone for a couple weeks, and I really miss our spiritual home. And then I remembered and forgot and remembered and forgot. When I walked in the doors, I saw the carpet. I'm like, oh my God, this place looks beautiful. So it was my first time, so please let me enjoy it for a little while and be all excited, because I know you guys had that already, but I get to see it now and experience it. So it's been really, really beautiful. So this is just another way for us to be remarkable. So that's our theme this year for the whole year, is being remarkable. We've been busy with other things, and so we're getting back on track. And so we have a remarkable story today. So I'm going to invite Reverend Susan up here, and she's going to share a little bit with you.
Good morning. They all think I'm remarkable. I am remarkable. I think you guys remember about a year ago I was living in a wheelchair. Look at me now. In order to recover and be able to walk, first of all, I do my physical therapy still 5 days a week. Also, I hired a practitioner, and I swear that's what works. And we love that practitioner very much. So she's out there, so thank you. Is there anything else?
No. All right, thanks, Susan. Yeah, so that is definitely a remarkable story. So, yeah, Reverend Susan was in the wheelchair for over a year or two, more longer than that, I think. So, 13 years. So, yeah, so that it can happen. So it all starts with consciousness, right? So, and that's why we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, and complete just the way we are. So we know that we can live as abundantly and express as much life as we choose to experience ourselves. So All right, so let's start off by. Let me remind you guys that speaking of practitioners, we do have call to prayer after service. So if you would like to pray with the practitioner, you can come right up here right after service for to meet with the practitioner. They'll pray with you. Kay Fontana will be doing. Dr. Kay Fontana will be doing. I want to make sure I do the titles right. We'll be doing the invocation and reading this morning. So. Okay, so let's now say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So if you can just sit back, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradsford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's wonderful message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath as we go within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
A quiet place that is God, that God that is all there is, that God that is beauty, love, peace, joy, happiness, that God that exists in everything surrounding us, within us, as us, and beyond. That God that is present in everything that we know, everything that we see, the invisible, the visible, the seen, the unseen. It is all God. And knowing this, knowing that that God resides within us, that we are one with that divine sweet spirit, that we are divine expressions of everything that God is. And knowing this, I speak a word of blessing upon each and every one of us here today and those who are not here with us. A word of blessing for all those in service today. And for the Bradfords, knowing their beautiful music touches our hearts and souls with that divine harmony that they express each and every time that they play. And for Reverend Karen, knowing that her words are the words of God and that they flow through her, as her, and touch us with those divine words that God expresses through her in her message today. And for all of those from other faith traditions, knowing that there are many paths to that one God. And I'm so grateful for this truth of knowing, and I release my words into the law, knowing that it is already done, it is so, and so it is. And my reading today is from Your Invisible Power by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. And this is from the chapter on God, your impersonal self. I am that which I am. I am that which I am. I am the eternal presence of your own self. Thus there is no mediator between you and myself but your own thought. This I am has been revealed to you in innumerable ways through the inspired writings of the ages. Each inspiration has been a proclamation that I am is in the midst of you. I am the writer, the inspirer, the thing written about. I am the creator of history, the one who experiences it. I am its record and its interpretation. Everything which has ever transpired but has symbolized my divine presence at the center of all. I am within you is the only presence there is. I create innumerable centers of my consciousness, personified as people, yet I am is the thread of unity running through all, binding all back to myself. Because I am a perfect oneness, all of me exists everywhere. Therefore, wherever you recognize me, there I am. And whether or not you recognize me, I am still there. Hence it is written, behold, I stand at the door and knock. This divine visitor, which is your true self, and which is that which I am, is both the one who stands at the door and knocks, and the one who opens the door. Let's take a moment to contemplate those words. And so it is.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today.
Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Imagine no possessions. I wonder if we can.
No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
I've never loved you more. Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. That for me, that one never gets old. I love hearing it and remembering and being renewed and filled up with that something that reminds me I'm not the only one. So good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I am the spiritual leader of this community, and I'm very happy to be here. And by the way, Reverend Clyde, I just want to comment that I seem to every day forget we have new carpeting in here, and I get excited and jazzed again. So we'll see how long it takes Reverend Clyde to take it for granted. I, for one, want to cherish, relish the newness of all of it, because we waited a long time for this sanctuary to look this beautiful. So grateful, so grateful. I have an interesting message prepared that I'm a little bit excited to share with you this morning, and it sort of ties together everything you've already heard. The song was a perfect pick. There was a line in your reading, Kay, where you said the I am, and whether or not you recognize me, I still am. And that's what we're talking about today. In fact, the title of my talk is, well, before I say it, I want you to hear it as two words. It's not one word, it's two words. Sense, ability. Right? So I'm all for being sensible, but that's not what this message is about today. The talk that I am delivering, the message I in desire for you to embody, is that we can enhance our ability to sense the presence of the I am, sense the presence and the power of God, and it's simply in the way that we pay attention to it. We set intentions. We direct our thoughts. Here's the quote I found from the founder, Dr. Ernest Holm, in his little book, Can We Talk to God? You see, a little training. Anything can happen. Holm said, there is a power which transcends into and operates through the consciousness of the one sensing such power. So there are a couple of surprising things in here. He doesn't very often talk about a power that descends, because we're really current in, we are trying to stay current and knowing about the indwelling presence of God. We don't pray to a God that's outside of us, and yet we understand and acknowledge that God is, everywhere present all the time. And so in that ability to be all, to be that great I am, he speaks today of a power that descends into and then operates through us, and it's those who are conscious of that power, those who sense it the most clearly, those are the ones who then are stepping easily into living their best life and their best life now, because we align ourselves to that energetic, that divine, perfect order of life, and that's we're more likely to tap into our God-given gifts when we're kind of vibrating at that energetic movement in tune with all of this great, beautiful, divine life. So we are talking about God as an original source. We are talking about spirit as that presence and that power. I like that idea that there's this infinite intelligence that created us, but that it also continues to support and sustain all life on the planet. But particularly, I want us to be thinking about ourselves, human beings, the way that power, that essence of giving us every substance and everything we need is always active in our lives. One time, many years ago, many of you were here, Dr. Ken Gordon came, and he was, at the time, he was the spiritual leader of our organization, and he came to help us celebrate our 40th anniversary, and it was this really big deal. And he stood on this very platform and he said something I had never heard quite like this, and that is, he said that power, that presence, that infinite intelligence, the creator of all of life, that has created us, because God is the great creator, then he is also mandated to continue to sustain our lives. So he very specifically took us as human beings and spoke to that idea that, it's like God owes it to us. Can we not see that we are in relationship to this Father Creator, that the intelligence that keeps everything in this universe in perfect working order, even when we mess up, the universe knows how to restructure itself again, that we then have this beautiful statement that God, because we are made in the image and likeness of God, then there is a mandate in this divine way that we also are supplied for. We are sustained, we are supported by this universe that we live in, because that's how it's designed. Now, that's a lot to think about. I actually like that very much, that we are provided for. And when things start looking rocky, then when we change our thinking, we become conscious and begin to sense that power, then we are using our ability to sense the presence in a way that we can apply to practical living, to our everyday life. So specifically this morning, this is a lesson in improving our ability to sense all of that and more. I want you to personalize it as it unfolds this morning. Because, as he said, Holmes said, it operates when we sense it. See, I see this as the law of attraction in motion, and we'll talk about that. So sensibility today, at least, is not about being sensible in the way we move through our lives and the way we make decisions, although I am not opposed to that. Obviously, our entire teaching, in fact, I would really venture to say that all spiritual teachings and philosophies have almost an urgency on realizing that when we make good choices, you reap what you sow, the scripture says, right? That when you make good choices, the consequences of those good choices then show up in your life as your own well-being. And so there's certainly a tidbit of sensibility. There is a message of reasoning that is an important part of our faith. And in fact, the very way that we teach affirmative prayer, it tells us that we want to be very logical, and we want to have a good, strong ability to reason on divine truths, on spiritual principle in ways that we can understand it and apply it in practical application in our own lives. So we, in affirmative prayer, we call it spiritual mind treatment. We encourage that logical reasoning. We encourage that way that we can have faith. We can stand in principle to believe in the things that are unseen, or sometimes we like to say the yet to be. And by the way, if you're home listening, you're here in the sanctuary, there's a yet to be in your life too. Don't think you've done it all, because you wouldn't be here if there wasn't something else left for you to be contemplating as to the glories of life and the experiences of so many things. So our whole approach to prayer is about learning to, we're not trying to beg God to give us something good. We, on the other hand, use the steps to prayer in order to convince ourselves that we are worthy and that those desires come from our heart, and there are ways we can align our lives to the spiritual principles that then can manifest greater experience of well-being in our living. So in prayer, I love that quote from Emma Curtis Hopkins, gives one of my favorite examples. In prayer, I use one of her lines, and I'll say things like, there is a good for me and I ought to have it. Right? So you're under the weather. You're not feeling healthy. There is a good for me. I know that I can have perfect health again. There is a good for me. I desire to see it expressing as a physically healthy, strong body, a vibrant and vital body, and I ought to have it. So you're not talking to God, trying to convince God to make you well. You're convincing your own self to align your thoughts to that perfect divine energy that's flowing in your body. Otherwise, we would never blink our eyes, or our blood wouldn't move, and our lungs wouldn't pump, and all of the things that are the processes that are vital to keep us alive. We also use affirmative prayer to argue away appearances in the same way that Jesus said, do not judge by appearances. We then know that we take that into our prayer, and we know that no matter what we're moving through, what kind of discord is going on in our life or in the world, that's a pretty big one. No matter what kind of discord we think we see, there is a greater truth that is desiring to reveal itself on this planet, or in our life, or in our body, or in our mind, our thinking, in our relationships. All of these things are a part of this great whole. So I know when I sit down and I pray every day, I know that I am reminded to remember there's a good for me and I ought to have it, but I also know that any problem I may seem to be encountering in my living, any problem is not as big as my God, right? That there is a divine solution to every problem that we may be moving through. And so as we begin to embody this idea of sensing our ability to recognize the presence of God at the center of our being, at the core of our life, everywhere present, the more that we play with that, the more we practice it, the more we talk about it, and then use it in our lives, we begin to sense this is not magic. See, I think a lot of people use prayer like it's some magical thing. It is not magic. It is quite sensible and logical. And it's not even miraculous. The goal isn't for us to be able to heal the sick and raise the dead, although when we pray properly, when we learn to affirm these great truths, we do heal ourselves. Your body's going to heal anyway, right? Your body will always heal in one way or another. We say sometimes that when the body can no longer support our physical life, that then the body drops away so that life can go on, that processes can continue, that we can advance. Holmes says, in order for the advancement of the soul. So there's always a healing and a truth revealing in every way. And we are equipped to do that, and it's not miraculous. In fact, the very definition, if you break it down and look at the word miracle, is about to seeing. It is about to see again. To see this life we're living in a new way, from a different perspective. And that's why we listen to messages like this. That's why we open ourselves to sense the presence and the power of God, and to have that impact, that inspiration to lift us in our own lives. So this morning, we are looking at the way we can enable our senses to perceive godly things. We will be awakening that interior awareness to a new vibration, to a new level of being able to sense the power and the presence of God. You know, when we do that, when we have those moments of pure connection, an experience of oneness with life, with God, with another human even, that's when the mind has most unified with the living presence of God. And I like thinking about it like that. These are the times we are empowered by recognizing our oneness with God, with being able to understand what it means to read a quotation with the I am as the focus of it, and to have an experience of oneing with that great truth. So the power is operating through us, or as oh, that's funny, I almost said Clyde. As Holmes would say, gosh, I must be healing, because I usually say Hugh. There's a novel thought. Clyde and Hugh and Holmes would say, there is one mind. It is the mind of God, and that mind is my mind now. That is how Dr. Holmes began almost every prayer. So looking again at that opening quote, okay, Holmes says power operates through the one that senses it. Are you starting to sense the presence of God right here, right now? It's okay if you're not. I'll get you there, maybe. There will be a homework assignment. You might have to do it on your own. Here's another quote that is a beautiful complement to that. The presence of God within is revealed to everyone who faithfully expects such revelation. The presence of God is revealed to everyone who faithfully expects such revelation. This is point number 1. I was going to make a 3-point talk, but it got too long, so you only get 2 points today. You'll probably be glad. So this is the very most important, and in fact, I think that's probably the most important quote I'm going to read today. The presence of God is revealed to us as we are faithful to the expectation of the revelation. Do you ever just ask God to give you a revelation? Most of us are afraid of that because the book of Revelations in the Bible is a little scary, and probably the most misunderstood sacred scripture written. However, this is gorgeous, because point number 1 tells me, expect the revelation. Expect God to reveal truth to you. Expect that. And when we do, things change. We begin to notice things differently. We begin to see with that miraculous vision. We begin to see things are different than we first thought they were. So I created a formula for you so you can take this home and you can use it forever and ever. Maybe I'll be famous for it one day. Okay, the formula is this. It's really simple. Expectation equals revelation. Think of a picture of Einstein, right? And the little thought balloon has all the formulas up there, right? So think of it like that. E equals R, expectation equals revelation, with the infinity sign behind it. With the infinity sign behind it. Expectation equals revelation every time, all the time, forever and ever and ever. It never ends. Expectation equals revelation. Now, what you expect to see, you will see. So be choosy. Know that we're very specifically talking about having the presence of God revealed to us in a very intimate and personal way. Kathy Ann Lewis, one of the very seasoned ministers in our movement, has a big Seattle church, and she always says, ask God, when you ask God to show you something, when you're looking to have an answer to something going on in your life, ask God to show it to you, but ask God to show it to you in a way that you'll understand it. Right? It doesn't have to be secretive and so tricky. It just, give it to me in the way that I'm going to get it right away. So E equals R till infinity. Expectation equals revelation. Every day you have an opportunity to have God's love revealed to you. Every day, there's an opportunity to have joy revealed to you in a very personal way. And every day, if we simply expect it, we can have an experience of beauty. Now, I could go on and make that list a lot longer, but these are the attributes of God I want to talk about today. Just love, joy, and beauty. Let's keep it simple here. What if we expected every day for God to give us a glimpse of love, of joy, and of beauty? This is how you activate the law of attraction, by putting your expectation on it, and then you will draw that love or that joy into your life, into an awareness of it being there. And you know what? The thing is, this is the best part of all. It's already there. I heard it in the song and I heard it in the reading. It is already there because we know there is no place where God is not. Every faith has some variation of the omnis. There is no place where God is not. And so what that means is there is no place where love is not. Even if I'm not feeling very loving, love is still there. There is no place where joy is missing or limited. Right, Bruce? Little joke there. You're supposed to go right. Right? So we put the carpet in and then we were trying to get the furniture in, and there was a moment where apparently I looked kind of scary and everybody kept going, "It's going to be okay, Reverend Karen. It's going to be okay." And I kept thinking, why are they doing that? I know it's okay. But apparently my face was saying something else, and Bruce said to me that morning, I think he said, "Smile. You just gave a talk, said smile." And I looked at him and said snidely, "Yes, and I also said in that talk, if you tell me this when I'm in a bad mood, I'm not going to receive it well." I don't even know this man that well. He's fairly new here. But anyhow, that's the point of life. That it's always there, whether we see it or not. Beauty. In the most devastating circumstances, beauty might be hidden from our awareness as we're moving through some kind of an experience, but it's still there, right? So look for it. Expect it. Call it forward. Put your demand on the law. Talk to God powerfully. Because it's there, whatever it is. So my challenge is, here's the homework assignment. My challenge is, and I think this is a really good idea, and I would suggest you try and do it today or you might forget about it. So if you're at home, it might mean you're going to have to get dressed and leave your house because you have to go out in public to have this experience. I would love it if you stop for lunch on your way home after church, then I want you to look wherever you are. I want you to look and see if you can see an example of love before your eyes. And I want you to look for an example of joy. And then if you're daring enough, look for a peak of beauty. And if you don't stop for lunch, go to the grocery store. Some of you will be stopping to the grocery store anyhow on the way home. But if not, take yourself to I don't care if it's the dollar store or you want to go to Target. Get yourself out in public with a whole bunch of strangers that you don't know and see if you can spot some love. I was at the grocery store once years ago, and it must have been in the evening time. I don't remember. But I walked around a corner and there weren't many people in the grocery store, and there was a couple dancing in an aisle. Romantic dancing. It was so beautiful just to see it. It's like, felt like you busted a private party, Skip that aisle, came back to it later, but it made my heart just to see the love. So seek to see, and you just wait to see what God shows you. right? Maybe you'll see somebody holding hands. Maybe you will see that there's a baby in the grocery cart, you know. I love it when the mom is putting the groceries on the counter and the baby's kind of away from her and she's not paying a lot of attention and you're the next one in line. I like to play peekaboo with the babies, you know, and I like it when they smile. I was at an airport last week and there was a mom pushing a baby in a stroller and, you know, all the chaos in the airport, and this little baby just walks right by me. I'm going this way, and the baby goes, hi. And I just stopped and watched the baby go by. It was so cute. It was so beautiful. You know, that's a God moment. There's a connection there. And then and the baby got down there and he looked at me for a long time, and then he looked at the next person. Hi. And then you could see that person laugh, you know. There's so much we miss. But if we intend to see it, it will be given us, you know. Or how about the guy that just is the one that walks through the supermarket whistling? I can't whistle, but, well, you know, just that whistling person, you know, you can feel the joy. Okay, you show-offs, I hear you whistling. You can feel the joy when you just walk past them, right? So there's love, and there's joy, and there's beauty in the world, and we want to be attentive. In fact, we can demand that God show us such sweetness. Which brings me to point number 2. Again, and the final point, again, going back to that opening quote, the power operates through the one sensing it. So our ability to sense the presence and the power of God allows it to operate through us, which then brings a little more, if it's love or joy or beauty, it brings a little more of that to the planet because God now has been delighted by our experience of that. So I found this quote that complements that in that same way, where Holmes is speaking about the originative power. He says it descends into the consciousness of the one meditating. When we meditate on spirit, and we receive that awareness, we allow ourselves to recognize that inward indwelling, the activity of spirit within us, we begin to recognize it within us. He says, then the intellect surrenders into the divine ideal. The intellect, the brain doesn't need to think it because you start to feel it. So the intellect just surrenders it into the divine ideal, which is always a higher idea. And then Holmes says it is a feeling. It is a sense. It is an atmosphere. See, I like that word, atmosphere. I love how Holmes talks about the atmosphere of our thought. You know, I like to remind us to go, what do you think about more? The problems in the world or the beauty and the goodness and the love in the world? Because you are, whatever you think of most is the atmosphere of thought you're creating in your own mind. And so I was thinking, I was on the airplane actually coming home, and did I tell you I went to my sister's farm? Oh my gosh, I saw the sheep sheared. I'll probably give a talk on it one day. It was an amazing, I rode the tractor. I collected eggs. I had such a good time. So I'm on the plane coming home, and I'm writing this message. And I'm thinking, I'm right at this point, and I went, what would be a good example of setting an atmosphere that we could all relate to? So I don't know that everybody will relate to it, but here's what popped in my funny little mind. I saw that movie with Rock Hudson and Doris Day called Pillow Talk. Do you know that? Raise your hand if you know that movie, if you're familiar. See, like, oh boy, our age really showed there. It's a great black and white movie, and Rock Hudson was always so handsome and debonair and often played the playboy. Doris Day is a professional woman, and we'll talk about the movie in a minute, but I wanted to say that as I looked up, I wanted to make sure Pillow Talk was the name of the movie, and I pulled it up online when I got home. And I saw that I didn't realize that Rock Hudson died of AIDS. He was only 59 years old. But he did the most courageous thing. And he actually is attributed, he's given credit for helping inform the general public about the AIDS virus. And he did a courageous thing by coming out at the end of his life. He didn't have to do that. But he decided that it was important, and he is one of the first celebrities that admittedly came out and said, I'm gay, and now I've contracted this virus, and he is responsible. They give him credit for taking that huge step in bringing public awareness to this issue that was so horrible. When we all remember, if you're old enough, I don't know. Julie, are you old enough? Do you? Yes, no, she's. I don't know. It's like it's always in your life, kind of. But what he did for us by taking that stand and coming out was that we then, because of this crisis, we began to notice that we all had relatives or neighbors or loved ones or co-workers that we really loved that had been not out, and they were gay, and it gave them permission to gradually, little by little, move into the world that we are living in today. And it ain't perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I love that. I believe that it was that kind of courageous behavior that changed our world so that we can begin to not only be more kind and loving to each other, but that it makes a difference in a worldwide sort of way. So anyhow, back to the movie. Rock Hudson, handsome, debonair, playboy. He's a songwriter. Doris Day's an interior designer, and they have a party line. That's why it's called Pillow Talk. So remember in the days where you didn't necessarily have a private line? Also, Julie, you probably can't even imagine.
I've heard stories.
You've heard stories. You pick up the phone, and Barbara Bonds down the street, a teenager, would be on the phone again, talking to all her friends. That was my life. But this is a story where Doris Day needs to make calls for her. She's an interior designer, and she has to do business calls, and she can never get out because Rock Hudson is always wooing these women, and he would write love songs to them, except it was the same song every time. He would just change the woman's name depending on who the woman was at that time. So, the movie is, kind of convoluted, and they do end up, falling in love and being together in the end, but it was dicey and funny, good comedy, a lighthearted comedy. But I thought, when I was thinking about atmosphere, what I wanted to say was, this is what came to my mind on the airplane, was that he had a bachelor pad. This handsome dude had a bachelor pad, and he would invite the women over after a date, and then he'd sit her down on the sofa, and then he would go to the wet bar, and he would, mix a drink, or maybe he was shaking martinis, I don't remember. But he's mixing a drink, but at his fingertips are the little buttons and knobs that change the lighting in the room, that put on the music. He's creating an atmosphere that would be conducive to an end result that he had in mind, where the intellect of one of them would surrender, and that he could have a favorable evening in whatever that is to him. So I thought, I know it's a stretch, but I thought that it was a good parallel for how we should court God. Right? We want to create a favorable environment. So the first thing we do is we got to get anything icky and dark out of our mind, or surrender it. Get your mind to quit thinking about it, so that you then are heading in a different direction. Right? We're creating a new avenue to meet God, and so I thought I would tell you this because it might be a secret only ministers know, but God loves to be courted. God loves it when we woo God. God loves it. I mean, come on, look at all the impressive things there are in the world to be in awe about, and God created it all. So I just want to tell you, in case you didn't know. God loves it when we go a-courting, when we seek to set the atmosphere to woo God, or to woo within us an awareness of the presence of God, so that we have the ability to sense that. So not only does God like it when we woo God, but what if we would create an atmosphere in our own mind where we begin to sense that the divine is courting us all the time. All the time. All we have to do is be aware of it. So when I look at that back and forth relationship, not Rock Hudson anymore. Now it's between us and God, but it can be very intimate and very beautiful in every way. What I know is that we have demonstrations of that in our lives, of that presence of God wooing and courting us, and vice versa. Think of a beloved pet you have experienced in your life. I just know that my dog loves it when I'm attentive to her. She loves it. And think of I know cats aren't always that friendly. Cats are, they're all different, and boy, they can be moody. But even that aloof cat on the farm would come up to me and rub back and forth on it. It's a barn cat, right? Rub back and forth on my legs and just loved it. I could bend down and pet him, but I had to, let you do the work. It's like he's petting me, right? Do you see that relationship? Do you see the way we all have that? Do you have those moments where you're either in the house or in your yard and you can hear the birds singing? What is better than bird song when you're attentive to it? And then I reflect back on the way the blooming flowers, like the citrus trees. A few weeks ago I mentioned the blooming of the trees, and the scent is so gorgeous. So there is this idea of wooing the attention of the other. Notice that our plants thrive when we love them. Not just the watering or fertilizing, they thrive on our love in the same way they thrive on the sunlight. And notice how people perk up when we show an interest in them. It doesn't take a lot, but it often starts with a decision. And so as we practice this ability to sense the presence, have an experience of the presence of God, have an experience of the presence of love or joy or beauty, then we deepen in our connection to it and the way we can use it. Now, I also went, for my birthday this year, I had a brand new experience, and I saw the coast of Oregon. I had never seen, to my memory anyhow, I had never seen the Pacific Northwest, and the ocean is different there. The ocean is different there. I know the ocean well. I grew up in Southern California, and I know the Central Coast very intimately as well. And this was such a beautiful experience. And there was this phenomenon that happened. And many of you will be familiar with this. If you've spent time at the beach, you'll know this. There was something happening where on the second to last or the last day, there was the way the waves were agitated, the sea was restless. It was creating foam. This experience of foam on the shore, except that there was no beach there. There were rocks, and so every now and then a wave would hit the rocks, and the foam would shoot up in the air, and it would be like soap bubbles, right? And it would float in the air, and it would land either on the rocks or in the water. Or the wind would blow it even further away. And so I came home from that trip and I looked it up. I went, what is that? Is that because sometimes it's brown and is that pollution? Is that something bad? And you know what I found? It's not bad. It's not even pollution. That foam phenomenon happens when the algae blooms in the ocean and then it dies. And as it decays, it washes toward the shore, and the surf churns it up, and it gives it this soapy, bubbly experience. And the foam is actually dissolved organic matter. It is not pollution, and it is not dangerous. In fact, I read, it is an indication of a healthy, productive ocean ecosystem. I had pondered that, and I thought about that, and I realized that experiencing that foam and wondering, all those shares, I could have looked it up a long time ago, but and then you come home and you're fresh. I look it up and I realize this is a natural result of the life process of the sea. Just one tiny part of what we are given in terms of our humanity that we can appreciate and enjoy and allow God to talk to us and excite us. Then I found this Rumi quote that's so fitting with all of this. Rumi, 13th century Sufi poet. Since you have perceived that all things in form eventually become dust, perceive also that the wind moves that dust. Since you have perceived the foam at the seashore, perceive also the ocean of creative energy. I think that our ability to sense, if we have an experience of just the vastness of the ocean or the beauty of the song of a bird or a sweet baby in an airport saying hello, whatever those things are, we begin to understand that there's this great ocean of creative energy that is purely divine. It's God. It's the God stuff that we are why? For the delight of God. So we seek to witness that creative energy. That's my ask of you today. Go to the grocery store or the restaurant or wherever it is and look for love and look for joy. See God in action. Learn to recognize those natural processes that go on whether we notice or not. Still, I am, right? This is evidence of God at work, and that's how we improve our ability to sense and know and have experiences of intimacy and oneness with God, that union. I also, while I was looking at the Rumi quote, I saw that there's this great attraction to Rumi. And you know who loves Rumi? Well, kind of everybody loves Rumi. It's amazing. But young people who are not religious, right? But they have a spiritual call. They have a yearning just like we do, and they get it through Rumi. And somebody asked a question online like, why is it that people are so drawn to Rumi, this poet? And the answer somebody gave that was fabulous said, it's the mystical richness of the poetry. It's the mystical richness. You know what that is? That's the oneness. It's the way I can't tell you, I can't define oneness. I can, but every time somebody reads me the definition, my eyes cross. I don't know, what does that mean? You have to have an experience of it. And people are sensing it, even non-religious people, especially maybe non-religious people. Everybody yearns for that union, that sense of connection. So remember, what you seek is seeking you. And when you see the foam on the ocean, or you see a bird soaring in the sky, or a beautiful flower blooming, you are witnessing God showing off. Think of it like that. God's just trying to impress you. So pay close attention. Get into the moment so that you can sense what's happening in that intimate moment of your recognition of something that's greater than you are. And then don't stop there, but stand up and give God a standing ovation. Bravo, bravo. Well done, Creator. Well done. And I'll end with this quote from Holmes, just to remind you. There is a presence within you that is ready, willing, and able to guide you in all ways. And so it is. That's it. So just take a breath. Take a holy breath. And feel the movement of life within your own being. And for a moment, just begin to sense the movement of love in this room. So whether you are sitting in this sanctuary or you are blessed to be in the privacy of your own home, begin to sense the presence of God right here, right now. For there is no place where God is not. There is no place, no way that God could be limited or restricted in any way. That this is the day that has been made for our delight. And so we become aware. We pay attention to the atmosphere we are creating with our own thoughts, with these words of prayer. And we feel and we sense that infinite presence of God right now. I feel it quickening within me. And I know it is a force that is greater than anything else in this universe. I feel the love of God, and I know yet again that all is well in this universe. That there is an intelligence that created all life and that continues to support, to guide, and to direct us, so that every blade of grass, every tiny insect, every gorgeous flower that blooms, we just know that that is an expression of God's sweet love. It is intended to bring us joy, to cause us to feel peace in our being as we witness the consistent ongoingness of life. So let us together feel that love. Let us realize that words have been spoken today and examples have been given and lessons have been offered in which we might strengthen our ability to sense the presence of God every day. Every day we take this practical application and we remember yet again that there is something absolutely divine about us. There is something perfect and complete within us that is untouched by any outer appearances. And so we know that that intelligence, that indwelling presence of God within us is the very essence of what heals us, what restores our sense of connection to each other and to life. We realize yet again with the real eyes that see the divine truths of life, we realize that there is something that is always moving in that upward spiral, forever and ever expanding, so our awareness grows. Our sense of touch with the true reality of life, with spirit itself, it expands. The intimacy and that sense of connection with the presence and the power is designed for us to align ourselves to it so that it might express in life through us. So we say, yay, God. Bravo, well done. How grateful we are to experience these magnificent and miraculous changes in our own seeing, in our own living, and our own experience with each other. We stand firmly in principle, knowing that the world needs that love and that compassion, and we are here to be a part of that whole revealing of truth, the wholeness, the holiness, and all of it. So, feeling that gratitude deep in my very own heart, allowing it to well within me as a source of inspiration, I release these words into the divine law, knowing it is already received, it is already returned, and it is done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful, grateful. simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Thank you, Bradford. All right, we are grateful. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our community, the abundance of ourselves, the abundance of life itself. So I just want to share with you really quick that this morning I was watching my favorite news show, and they were talking about homes and stuff. And there was this woman was sharing her apartment that she lives in New York City, 75 square feet. She pays $1,100 a month, and she's very proud of her home. So it was just a really, really beautiful experience to see that, you know, everybody's life is different, and but she was enjoying it. She was happy that she was in New York, but it was just amazing that how much it cost to live there. So that's an abundant story for you. So we live in an abundant life. We just have to see it and recognize and experience it for ourselves in our own ways. So, all right. So we are not passing around the offering plate. Just to remind everybody. So we have drop boxes on the way to Papke Hall. We have in the back of the room and also in the bookstore. So we appreciate your tithe, your donations, and any support you give to our community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Now let me hear you. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive again. Oh, oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Woo!
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you. Remind we have wonderful food in Papke Hall afterward. We have leftovers from a party last night, so there's good food in there. And I also have to let you guys know that next Sunday is potluck Sunday. So if you're going to be here next Sunday, please bring something for potluck to share with everybody. So let's say our closing affirmation together. I know the sensible approach to life is. that I am an individualized expression of God.
I am an individualized expression of God.
And so it is.
Amen. Amen.